Hey, this is Bailey,
And I'm Timothy.
and welcome to What Sleep Podcast.
Let's get right into it.
Woo. Hello again.
Hello.
We're back with another episode, and today we're going to be talking about missing persons of America's national parks.
I don't like parks. Well, let me rephrase. I like ones that you can just casually walk through, not like hike through.
Yeah, a lot of them are too big to just casually spend a day. You gotta a lot of these are, camp out kind of parks.
I've never actually been camping.
Really?
But I'm not much of a really outside person.
I like camping. I think it's fun. I think especially like near lakes and stuff. I like to kayak a lot. I love kayaking.
I would get like a cabin house.
Mm-hmm.
Like kind of on the lake or whatever.
Yeah, no, I love camping. I think it's fun. And especially if I get to go boating, like kayaking.
Well,
don't like
I think my biggest thing is just bugs.
Get bug spray.
They don't do nothing for me. You know how like I constantly get off, especially around summertime here when like all the mosquitoes are out.
Yeah.
They still find ways to just devour me. So.
Well. Sounds like a personal problem.
I mean, apparently.
Well, we're talking about what we're talking about today is going to be a little bit more pressing than mosquitoes.
I don't know. Does it give me malaria?
No. I don't know if you've heard about it, but there was a TikTok or two posted talking about how there are feral people living in national parks out in the wild.
And is this some like the hills have eyes type of thing?
A lot of people, yeah.
Oh.
A lot of people were very much on that boat. So that's actually what this episode was originally going to be about, because I was like, feral people, hold on a second. And like, don't get me wrong, I do believe that they exist. I'm sure they do.
Isn't the hills have eyes like based on like a real thing?
I have no idea.
What is it in it?
I don't
remember. I could just be making that up.
I don't know. Like, I fully believe that there are feral people that exist. I don't know if there are colonies of them living in national parks. But I promise I did try to research what I could, and almost every article I saw was like, no, they don't.
It's a government conspiracy.
Right? Yeah, so, and I do know people who are very much on the boat of, well, they can't prove it. So I'm in the middle. If they can't prove it, that doesn't mean that they're not there. That doesn't mean that they are there. So we're going to talk about missing people.
Okay.
So there is a large list of missing people filed with the Cold Case Department of the FBI. In particular, I'm going to be talking about missing people of America's national parks. So obviously there's tons more than what I'm going to be talking about. But so a lot of the missing people that we're going to be talking about are, of course, people that simply get lost, kidnapped, or that they might not even leave the park at all. And since the establishment of the National Park Service in 1916, it was actually a lot lower of a number than I thought, but only 1,600 visitor disappearances in these parks have been documented since 1916.
Yeah, I mean, I guess for that kind of a time span.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem, granted, that's still a lot of people,
right.
But...
And, I mean, I feel like... I mean, there's different factors for why that number is so low in my mind. I feel like maybe people don't report everybody that goes missing, and, obviously people are found too. There is an issue too that most cases of missing persons have gone cold at the National Park Service because they don't keep an extensive record due to pretty much just leaving it up to law enforcement to handle. So it's really hard to track how many really go missing in national parks because it's a police matter, but it is also because, in the national park, but they want to leave it up to local authorities. So there's not a really good record system. So there's actually a former police detective who became a cryptozoologist by the name of David Paulides. and he actually began to look into these cold cases, and he himself noticed a trend.
Okay.
So some cases are solved, obviously, when it's discovered that some missing persons were victims to weather conditions, animal attacks, or just falling from big heights. But other cases, to him, it seemed that people were just kind of vanishing into thin air. Some cases that he researched in which tracking dogs were used, the trail would stop cold, like immediately, just out of the blue, or the dogs would straight up just refuse to walk any further.
Okay.
So, I mean, spooky.
In my, granted, very limited experience of scary movies, that usually means there's like a demon or something nearby.
Well,
Oh, okay.
David Paulides is also the author of the Missing 411 series, which you can find, on the internet. There's a book series and also a documentary on disappearances in national parks. And in these, he actually dives into details about certain cases, acknowledging that, of course, in some, people may have just decided to up and leave, which is fair, or that nature can take its course without anything suspicious really happening. But he does believe that
There's
in
always a
some
but.
cases, there's always a but. He does believe that in some cases, the facts just don't really add up or make sense, and people simply vanish. So, yeah.
Okay.
Theories of cryptids have been looked into as well. Some believing the creatures such as Bigfoot or Big Feet. I don't know the plural of Bigfoot. I feel like it's Big Feet. I'm going to go with that.
I'm going to say it's the Black-Eyed Kids. Go check out that episode if you haven't.
Go check out that episode. So, yeah, some people believe that it's creatures such as Bigfoot or Windigos may be responsible.
Do you believe in Bigfoot?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, no joke?
Yeah, I do.
What about Wendigos?
Yes.
Really?
It's easier to believe them and be able to avoid them than to not, and then them actually be real and die.
Well, thanks to, Supernatural and the game Until Dawn, I know how to handle Wendigos pretty well, so.
Yeah. And honestly, we probably really should take a deep dive into that, but, in another episode. But scary. They are scary. They're terrifying.
Yeah, not a fan of those. Especially how they're made, too, or how they come to be.
Yeah.
Not that they're made, how they come to be is a little horrifying.
It's pretty rough. But I am actually going to talk a little bit about them in this episode.
They're cool.
Well, I mean, they're cool, they're terrifying, and they're potentially a reason, whatever you believe, that people just go missing. So, Bigfoot, as I'm sure literally everybody knows, is a cryptid seen all over North America and reported to live in forests such as those in national parks. Anecdotal sightings have described Bigfoot to be a large, ape-like, evasive creature. It is said that Bigfoot creatures also have incredible strength and could easily be responsible for taking people right off of trails and out of forests, just plucking them out.
Makes sense.
So, which could be the reason why trails just stop. The Windigo is much more terrifying, as we've just discussed. Windigos are creatures deriving from folklore of First Nations based in and around East Coast Forest of Canada, the Great Plains region of the U.S., and the Great Lakes region of the U.S. and Canada. It is said to be a malevolent spirit that possesses humans, causing feelings of insatiable greed or hunger, the desire for cannibalism, or just flat-out murder. It is described in folklore as a giant humanoid creature who appears gaunt, pretty much due to the point of emaciation, with its rough skin pulled tightly over its bones. Its eyes are often sunken in, making it seem like nothing more than a skeleton with tattered skin, which is honestly terrifying. Yeah. It's the worst.
Not.
That's like a demon.
There's something just about like a really thin figure.
Tall, thin.
Tall, like really long limbs. It just kind of.
I don't like
it.
So in some traditional tellings of the cryptid, Wendigos come about by human greed or the need for a person to resort to cannibalism. Once they turn into a Wendigo, they are overcome with a need to eat and kill other humans, with their hunger never really satisfied, so they just keep eating and killing, and it never gets better. And with each kill, a Wendigo is said to grow larger. Terrifying.
So the taller and more creepy it looks, the more likely you are to die.
Yes. It's probably done it many times at that point.
And usually they're pretty quick, too.
Yeah.
They're essentially the more beastly version of Slender Man.
Yeah. Like Slenderman's dog.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah,
I don't
actually.
like it.
Slender Man's dog
I
is
don't
essentially
like it.
just a Wendigo.
So just a few more theories that I'll include here that are included in David's documentary are that there are interdimensional portals. And of course, our favorite, aliens.
Oh, yeah.
They exist.
They do.
Get over it.
I feel like at least once every so often I somehow manage to mention how I've seen aliens into this podcast.
Yeah, I remember. So, I mean, either way, all of this would be very terrifying to come across.
Would you be terrified if you came across an interdimensional portal?
Yeah. What if I couldn't get back? What's on the other side? What if it's just space? What if it's a portal to dinosaurs? I don't know. You don't know. What if it's a portal to the
couldn't you just stick your head through?
I don't know. What if it's
You
the
don't gotta
Mariana
walk all the way
Trench?
through.
Then now your head's exploded. If it's space,
Oh,
you're
well.
frozen. Like,
I feel like you'd be able to see that. And I feel like
could you? What if it's just like a film? What if you just can't see through it? It's too opaque. If you could see through it, then like maybe, I don't know. I wouldn't go through, I think. I think I'd get scared not.
I think that'd be cool.
So yeah, bringing it back to more explainable but mysterious things, I'm actually going to talk about some of the cold case missing person reports with strange circumstances surrounding their disappearances, in national parks.
Okay. About it.
So Glenn Hyde was a seasoned boater who really wasn't a stranger to boating through like rough rivers because he'd done it a lot. And his new wife, Bessie, was not. In 1928, on their honeymoon in Arizona, the two were traveling down the Colorado River on a small sailboat and planned to boat through the river as it runs through the Grand Canyon, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Had they been successful, Bessie would have been the first woman to successfully run down this river. However, unfortunately, they vanished. Bessie wasn't exactly excited to go on this little expedition because she was very inexperienced in boating. But Glenn actually persuaded her to take the new experience as he saw that if they were successful in their venture, they could go on a paid lecture tour because, again, she would have been the first woman. So he kind of wanted to get some money out of it. But, I mean
hey, why not?
Why not? Yeah, if you were going to do it for your honeymoon anyway. But, like, I still, like, she was afraid to go. I would have been like, all right, we'll do something else, but he wanted the money.
Well, and I think, he's experienced in it. So,
right.
He's probably just confident. She's like, there's no reason to be scared.
She's scared. I would have changed my mind. So, several months later, the couple's boat was discovered in the winter. The boat was upright, still stocked with supplies, and the two were nowhere in sight. There was never any explanation on their disappearance, though theories do suggest that they may have been abducted or even had an argument that turned violent, and this was supported by reports of sightings of Bessie in the following years. But again, still remains unsolved, and they just vanished.
Okay.
So, very weird. Their boat was found later, perfectly fine.
And there wasn't any...
There wasn't any, forensic evidence, physical evidence, none of that. Well, I mean, it was also 1928, so forensics weren't really a thing back then.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
But just kind of seemed like, there was no blood or anything around. It was a perfectly fine scene. They just weren't there.
Curious.
So in 1938, a family camping in Colorado's Rocky Mountain National Park had their trip cut short when 5-year-old Alfred Bilharts went missing. His disappearance is often debated because his case was first recorded as him drowning in the park.
Okay.
But Alfred had gone with his dad to bathe in the river when he decided to join two other family friends that were 500 feet upstream from his father. The 500 feet between his father and the family friends, Alfred disappeared. Mm-hmm. This wasn't realized, unfortunately, until everyone returned to the camp with Alfred absent. They immediately searched for him along with around 100 civilian conservation corps members, but there wasn't any sign of Alfred. They didn't find him. A day after he disappeared, a couple hiking 6 miles away from the family's campsite reported seeing a boy who looked exactly like Alfred sitting in an area called the Devil's Nest, though by the time the authorities arrived, the child had disappeared. The search did continue.
They try to help this small child?
I guess not. I did try to look up what the Devil's Nest was, but I guess there's another one in Europe. which is literally just a giant hole in the ground that goes straight down.
Oh.
But that's not the one we're talking about. I have no idea what this one looks like. I don't know if it's just land or, like, I don't know why they didn't walk up and grab him. You know what
That's
I mean?
what I'm saying. Like, if you see like a 5-year-old child out in the
Right.
wilderness in
Go
a place
grab
called
him.
the Devil's Nest.
Right. So,
Like, why were you not, like, one of y'all stay behind to like,
right,
help
at
him
least
or
one.
something?
Yeah, but they didn't, and he was gone the child was gone by the time they came back. So the search did continue for
Maybe it was
10
a
more
ghost.
days. Maybe it was a ghost. Maybe it was his ghost, little Alfred.
That was quick.
The search did continue for 10 days and included 150 men along with bloodhounds, but nothing was ever found. So not even the bloodhounds could find him. So that's why a lot of people debate it not being a drowning, because there was never a body found. It was just reported by the national park as a drowning. So he's actually just a disappearance.
And the thing with drownings too is that, you know, bodies
You wash
tend
up
to
at
float.
some point. Yeah, they
That too.
float, and you're going to wash up somewhere. So if he drowned, this wouldn't be an unsolved case. And this happened in 1938. So
Yeah.
nobody knows. At 8 a.m. in July of 2004, at the Big Bear Lake campsite in Northern California's San Bernardino National Forest, David Gonzalez vanished. He asked his mother for her car keys as he wanted to grab a box of cookies from their car.
Same.
The car was parked 50 yards away, and his mother reports watching him as he walked back to the parking lot, so she had eyes on him. She turned her back for just a moment. When she turned around again, he was gone. His mother reported that she heard no sound at all, but did witness a big beige truck speeding out of the campground around the time that her son went missing. Police did not pursue that lead, however, as they concluded there were no signs of abduction.
Okay, so a mother sees her child, turns around, child's gone, and then sees a speeding van leaving the scene.
Yeah,
No signs of abduction.
no signs of abduction.
What are the signs of abduction?
I don't know. Dropped keys or something, I guess. Like, he literally just had keys on him, you know?
I mean, yeah.
So,
but
I mean,
it's a tiny child.
Yeah.
It's not like it's going to put up a fight or anything.
it made me mad, too. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, you didn't look into that at all? So,
God, that's one thing I hate about true crime is you read about these dumb cops and detectives. Like, oh my God. Granted, hindsight is 2020. Like,
but still, you should look into a lead from the only other witness that was there. That's
Yeah.
the only lead you have, you know?
I'm not
They
saying
just
that,
didn't look into it.
yeah, I don't know. Maybe they just didn't feel like doing the paperwork or something.
Right. So it was discovered that David never actually made it to their vehicle, as the car was still locked with the box of cookies still in the same place they had brought them in. Rescue teams in San Bernardino County did search the surrounding area and woods for 9 days, but they found no signs of him or any sort of a struggle. A year later, hikers discovered David's remains a mile away from the campsite, and authorities rested the case as a mountain lion attack. This was disputed because a lot of people question how a mountain lion could have silently taken a boy from a very populated campground, killed the boy without any trace of blood, and his body wasn't found for another year. A lot of people don't agree with their finding. Plus, I don't think anything would be left over of his body. I mean, I guess there were bones, but it was his remains.
What I'm kind of thinking in terms of like the mountain lion theory, I guess, is, you know, the boy may have been abducted, you know, bad things happened to the child, and then I guess whoever abducted them might have like killed the child and then disposed of the remains.
That's what I think happened.
And then maybe like a mountain lion nibbled on it or something. And
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't know the state of the body, because these were just remains, so I assume they were just bones because it was a year later.
yeah.
So decomposition happens pretty quick, but I don't know how fast.
Yeah, I mean,
So
I'm just trying to make a guess there.
yeah, I don't know. A lot of people don't like what
Like,
they came up
I
with.
mean, is that probably the answer? No, but
Potentially. We don't really know because they didn't really follow up with that
Yeah.
lead. So unfortunately,
I'm just trying to kind of
yeah,
think that one through a little bit.
it's weird.
Like it could make sense, but you know. Does it?
mysterious
I don't know.
circumstances. So those were just a couple of cases that I found. There are tons of them, obviously, that you can look up on the internet. And I'm actually going to leave a link to the cold case website for nationalparkservice.gov in our show notes, so that, you know, if you know anything about any missing persons, you can go take a look at it, see if maybe you might know something, and obviously report what you might know. But I am going to end this episode on a little story from, it was actually requested by a friend of mine because it's wild. And this is for my feral believers.
Okay.
It's not feral people, but it's as close as I can get to it. I'm sorry. A man by the name of Christopher Thomas Knight, also known as the North Pond Hermit, was a reclusive hermit living in the North Pond area of Maine's Belgrade Lakes for 27 years. Throughout his nearly entirely solitary time, he only had 2 known instances of human contact. 27 years.
I don't know how people can live in isolation like that.
He didn't want to be talked to.
I mean, I get that, but, you know, one of, like, humans', like, just necessities is kind of social interaction.
Right. Yeah. I mean, a little bit, I guess. But, he lived a mile away from cabins in his camp. So, like, maybe just living near the sound of people was good enough for him. Because he straight up
I know there's been
woke up one day and was like,
you know, experiments made on, like, people being completely isolated from, like, all human contact and whatnot, and like they would pretty much, like, die from lack of, like, contact and whatnot.
He didn't.
So humans are weird.
Yeah, it's necessary, but some people just don't want it.
Yeah, I guess. So
he built his camp in a well-drained wooded area within a cluster of glacial erratic boulders. And I did look this up. Glacial erratic is a glacially deposited rock varying in sizes and typically clustered together over varying distances. So, like, it can be a small cluster of very large boulders in one spot, which sounds like what he was in, or it can be, like, miles and miles long.
Okay.
So that's where he decided to make his home.
Seems reasonable.
Yeah. He came to these woods with almost nothing and set up camp with items that he stole from nearby campgrounds, and survived by committing around 1,000 burglaries in campsites and houses in the surrounding area.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that's cool if you want to be isolated, but don't steal.
Yeah. Christopher was 20 when he decided to leave his life behind, and he told not a single person what his plans were. He just woke up and was like, I'm done with people, I'm done with society, and left to live in the woods.
That's crazy. What leads you to that point?
I don't know, he was tired. There's a whole book on him.
I mean,
you guys want to read that?
Like, not once have I been like, you know what? I'm just going to give up absolutely everything, not tell a single soul.
Yeah, I physically can't do that because I have diabetes and I need insulin.
Just make your own.
Insulin?
The patent's only $1.
Patent was only $1. So his parents actually never reported him missing. And in an interview, Christopher explained that this is because, they weren't, overly doting. And he was 20 at this point. They were good people, he says. They just didn't... he's 20. If he wants to go live out in the woods, he's going to go do that. He just straight up went missing one day and went to live in the woods. So I feel like I would have reported it, but I think his parents kind of, would probably know him best and maybe expect.
But
even then, I feel like I'd still report it, but they just kind of let him do his thing. It's just.
I think the weirdest part is that he didn't even tell them anything.
Yeah, he just woke up and left.
Did it
yeah, it's weird.
Maybe he talked about it before, but if you just woke up one day and then all of a sudden your child that you've raised up for 20 years just was gone. No response.
I'd be a little concerned.
Yeah, even if he was the type to just go live in the woods, even then I feel like that's probably the last thought you'd have.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it would go towards all the more negative aspects.
I would. They just didn't. Christopher survived through the rough winters by waking up during the coldest part of the night and pacing until he was warm. He avoided...
That sucks.
Yeah,
what?
It does. He avoided building fires because the smoke might have revealed where he was, and instead he used a propane stove to cook food, boil water for drinking, and bathing. He committed his burglaries for supplies to survive by borrowing canoes
Borrowing.
Well, he returned them. He borrowed these canoes from vacant camps and rowed them between his own campsite and that of the ones he stole from in the early morning hours to avoid detection. The 2 instances in which he was discovered happened when he was traveling on a light trail, and he literally just said hi to somebody as he passed by them.
Okay.
And this was in the 90s. That was one of the only interactions he had. The second...
Oh, okay.
That's it.
What?
The second interaction he had was with a fisherman and his grandson, who accidentally happened on his camp. The group...
Why do I just picture, like... You've been isolated for like the last 20 years, and some father and his little son just happen to stumble upon your camp. I would immediately just like run out and like a loincloth and just go and just like screaming
like
at
a
him.
stick, a little walking stick.
Yeah. Like big long beard and just shouting
amazing.
nonsense
That's
at
the
them.
dream. The group actually ended up making a pact to never talk of the interaction, as the fisherman understood Christopher's want for solitude. So,
Hey, you know what?
I mean, respect.
What an OG guy right there. I like him.
I get it. It's cool.
I guess he doesn't deserve to get ooga booga'd.
He was arrested by Sergeant Terry Hughes on April 4th, 2013, while robbing the Pine Tree Camp in Rome, Maine. He was sentenced to 7 months in jail, but was given time served, as his time was served in jail while he was awaiting his sentence. At his sentencing, he was ordered to pay $2,000 in restitution to his victims, completing a co-occurring disorders court program, and 3 years of probation. Which, like, more solitude, woo.
Right? Like...
Christopher did acknowledge that stealing is obviously wrong, but he only did so to survive. He did an interview and stated that there was no motive for becoming a hermit, just that, quote, solitude bestows an increase in something valuable, my perception. But when I applied my increased perception on myself, I lost my identity. There was no audience, no one to perform for. To put it romantically, I was completely free. After his ordeal, Christopher met with the judge every week and secured a job working on his brother's junkyard, and now lives a quiet life. And that's it. There is a book that the interview did write. He was able to write on Christopher, if you want to read about his entire experience of being a hermit, living alone for 20
So from
something
that
years.
little quote, it just kind of seemed like he was just tired of putting on a facade for people.
Yeah,
He's
he
like,
just...
you know what? I'm just going to forego all that and just go do my own thing.
Yeah, basically, he just wanted to be free. He's like, I just want to do my own thing, and he did it. So the only thing he got in trouble for was stealing from other people. So if he just, maybe made a quiet trip to the store once a month to buy in bulk,
Yeah.
I don't know how he would have made money, but, maybe sell furs or something. I don't know. But that's what he got in trouble for, and now he works at a junkyard with his brother. I'm sorry that wasn't feral people. I know a lot of you...
kind of feral.
It was kind of feral. That's as close to feral as I could get.
I think the most feral you could get is literally what I was talking about, like ooga-booing people.
I might try to do feral, because there are a couple of cases of feral children. Unfortunately, those were a little heavier.
Like some Children of the Corn type thing.
Heavy neglect that leads to children not learning enough to become, able
So
to function
like
in society.
A worse version of Lord of the Flies.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
Spoiler alert.
We'll probably, I'll probably do something on that later, but that's a really heavy topic, and I wanted to do something a little bit lighter because we just finished up Ted Bundy.
Yeah, we just did Ted Bundy.
But yeah, so again, I'm going to leave in the show notes a link to the missing persons page for the National Park Service, and if you guys want to go check it out, and if you guys know anything, go ahead and, reach out to authorities. A lot of these cases are from decades ago to even, months ago. So go ahead and check that out. And if you like this episode, share with your friends and come back for more, because we got a lot planned.
Yeah. Leave a review for us on Apple Podcasts. I know that they recently did just revamp that whole application, so it should be much easier to consume our most recent content now. And we're always looking for feedback and things like that. And with that being said, tell us what you'd like to hear next. I know we've done lots of murders and mysteries and things.
If you've got a cool alien story, let us know.
Yeah, you got personal stories, let us know. You want to hear about some crazy conspiracies or, you know, things like that. Shoot us a message on our Facebook or Instagram.
Email.
You know, or email.
Yeah.
You can email us at whatsleeppodcast@gmail.com. We read through every comment, you know, message that we get. So we will read your replies and things like that.
Yeah.
And you can find all of that, all of our socials, as well as our email on our website at whatsleeppodcast.com. So definitely check that out. And we will see you guys in the next episode.
Yeah.
Bye.